Greetings, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Kiyonah. May you be blessed. Today I'd like to talk with you about my thoughts regarding poverty, overcoming poverty as a social justice activist or a conscious person. And this has three branches to it. One, I'll share briefly with you about my journey into homelessness and how it taught me about overcoming poverty. Then, about developing a resistance in your mind against the supremacy of money in our society, the corporate capitalism, the consumerism, the mass media. Resistance of the mind against the systems of money, and how you turn that into social justice activism by doing things like advocating for the homeless, or forming protest groups, or forming collectives to construct alternative housing, or to teach people, or inventing new forms of housing like the trailers you pull behind on your bike. And how you start out by attempting to overcome poverty, and you end up connecting to your divine prosperity, your Christ consciousness within that has the source of everything at its core. You're rich in spirit just by your existence, no matter what the material world looks like. But I am very aware of the indignities of homelessness. Would you ever guess, looking at me, that I've been homeless on and off for many years? Some people would, because it changes you in subtle ways. Other people would never guess that. Some people have even accused me of being privileged, which I've never been privileged in my life. I'm just intelligent. It's just my demeanor. But I do know homelessness. For many years I lived in an awesome old farmhouse in downtown Boone, North Carolina. And I love those mountains. And I went to college at Appalachian State University studying anthropology. And I raised my son, my firstborn son, there. And he went to a Montessori school that was so cool, called Mountain Pathways. So life was good, and it rolled along year after year with total security, no fear. Pretty much able to get whatever I really needed or wanted, or at least work my way towards it. And then a series of circumstances, some that were my choice and others that were beyond my control, they all collided together, and I ended up becoming homeless. And a friend of mine gave me a camper van to help me. And I went and I lived in that van and traveled all over America, homeless, having to can recyclables, occasionally panhandle, things like that to survive. And there's many ways to be homeless, many different experiences of homelessness. Some are willing and some are not. I'm talking about the kind that's not. Because, when you do feel safe and secure in your life, and then you lose all that security and you're just out there surviving, it can make people treat you with less than dignity and look at you and look down on you like you're a camper and a homeless person. Like if you go into a gas station to use the bathroom, they'll say no. And your appearance starts to change. The way you talk starts to change. The appearance of your hands changes, and how you move, and how you hold your eyes. And people just have a built-in radar that can tell stuff like that, And some people will try to lift you up in your circumstances. They'll try to give you some money or give you something nice, or just be really nice to you or something. And other people will judge you and put you down and act like you're disgusting and you're contagious. you know. And if there's nobody advocating for you, that can be a pretty lonely experience. Some people embrace it even though it is very lonely and impoverished. And I understand that too. But there is a lot of suffering out there, just from the realities of what it's like to be homeless and hungry and uncomfortable and broke, and then have a car breakdown or a medical emergency or something, and you have to scramble for urgent help from somebody. You know, you have to go church hopping, you have to use food banks, you have to always be looking for a parking space and a place to get clean, and a way to get coffee and to eat and to keep smokes, even if you have to hunt for snipes on the ground. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to try to go through the shelter system too, and that sucks. I know what it's like to couch surf. I know what it's like to live in my vehicle. I know what it's like to sleep under and on top of buildings. You know, just in a sleeping bag. And when I was homeless and I hung out in cool places like Asheville, North Carolina, at A Hope, the day shelter, I noticed that there were two kinds of homeless people. There was really hard diamond shining homeless people who were conscious and aware, and you felt like they must be rainbows or something. You could just see their magnetism and their beauty shining within the same circumstances all of us were in. And then there were homeless people who I felt like their souls were flabby, and everything they did was flabby, and all their solutions to everything was flabby, and just dinky and like pathetic, and just haggled out and swag, you know. And I felt like they were stuck in a vibe of poverty consciousness. And the shining diamonds were attuned to divine abundance consciousness. You know, if they went to a shelter and there was a box of free hats and they took 2, they would then go hop on the city bus and give one to somebody in a cool way. So even though they had no material possessions and they were homeless and going to soup kitchens, they still kept the flow of abundance going. So overcoming poverty might not change your circumstances, but it can change your consciousness. If you can overcome that flabby poverty consciousness and start getting your strength back and getting yourself back. It's not possible for everybody though. Some people really are mentally ill and damaged by trauma beyond control. I'm not saying we should end homelessness. There are many people who embrace it as a lifestyle. There are many people who that suits them best because of their personality. It's better for them to stay out of society, on the fringes, on the outside. But they still deserve their human rights and their human dignity, okay? And developing resistance in your mind against the supremacy of money, of corporate capitalism, of the real estate market, of the banking industry, of the attitude of the cops and social workers and everything else, and cop callers. These things are systemic. And when a homeless person has been caught up in circumstances like mental illness, health problems, just complete failure of their upbringing to develop them into productive people, built-in character flaws, brain injuries, on and on and on. And these things conspire together to deprive them of their human rights, to human dignity, and inalienable human rights like housing and food and clothing. In our society, you have to buy those things or somehow otherwise get them. They're not provided to you, even though that's a human right. So if you believe in social justice activism, what you will do is you will see any problem and address it directly. If home bums are having a hard time dragging their rig around, You develop a new little trailer, a little pop-up trailer that they can pull around on their bike behind them with all kinds of cool features that restores their dignity to them. Or learn to build tiny houses, or build eco-villages, or buy houses in distressed neighborhoods and fix them up and flip them, or rent them out to other activists. Provide affordable housing as a form of social justice activism to express your divine abundance and your divine prosperity, because you are a conscious human being and you have compassion for people with a poverty consciousness, because they are out of alignment with their divine abundance. This is the first step to overcoming poverty, is overcoming the poverty consciousness with awareness, activation, alignment, abundance, awareness, all of it. And actually treating people that way, as though you see the divine in them, even if they're not aware of it. Even if they think it's destroyed, you still treat them with dignity. Even if they're toothless and screaming in your face and spitting while they do so, you maintain your centeredness as a warrior of peace, and you treat them with dignity. Even if you have to take them down because they're out of control, you do it with unconditional love and dignity, not with anger or retribution. It's not fair for privileged people to look at panhandlers and other people like that and say, get a job. Even I can't get a job, okay? I have to create my own jobs. And that's another part of social justice activism to overcome poverty, is helping to create income streams that outsiders can actually use. I've seen homeless organizations have homeless people standing on a corner selling newspapers that they made, instead of just panhandling and not giving anything in return. That's really cool. Usually all the articles are written by the homeless people. That's a cool thing to do as a collective, and they earn a little bit of money and you cover your printing costs. There's so many different ways to do this. And if circumstances in your life have never made you homeless, then you can be homeless willingly. You can leave everything behind and go in the safest way, but yet the most impoverished but safest way you can, like Greyhound or something, to a city you don't know, and just have what a homeless person would have, which is a backpack with a change of clothes, a journal, personal items like a toothbrush, toothpaste, your phone book, whatever, and go and see what happens. Where do you sleep? How do you raise money? How do you eat? Try it for a few days or a week. Do it safely, though, because you're just pretending. You don't want to actually endanger your life just for an experiment. And see what it's like and talk to people. Don't get in trouble. Don't talk to obviously dangerous people. Don't be stupid. And you can also usually meet homeless people or people who are houseless or not housed up. You can usually meet them at anarchist coffee shops or even hippie coffee shops. You can tell who they are. They've usually got a pack. Sometimes they have a dog on a rope. You can tell. I call them travelers rather than homeless people. They're transients. They're travelers, usually. Home bums is people who are homeless in their own hometown, which I have been a home bum. And if someone wants to be homeless, we don't want to take that away from them or force them into some system that they do not consent to, okay? Like the shelter system or subsidized housing. If they want to be homeless, they should be allowed to be homeless, okay? If they want to live in an encampment, we should provide peaceful encampments like dignity villages. If they want to be loners, then let's make sure to hustle up some donations from REI or Land's End or somebody and give them boots and packs and walking sticks and binoculars and whatever they need, flashlights, camp stoves, you know. If they want to sell it for drugs and alcohol, then that's their problem. It's none of our business, really, to judge them or tell them what to do. Our job is to, be good members of the human family with unconditional love. Okay? That's how we overcome poverty. We overcome the poverty consciousness by having compassion for what it's really like for people. And then we realize that the problems are systemic, and we develop resistance against that in our mind. And then we awaken our divine selves. We align with divine abundance, and we look around and see what is lacking, what is needed, what is wanted. And we set about providing that lovingly and consciously and creatively. Okay? So that's going to wrap it up for now. Remember to be beautiful and be free and be true to yourself. Be blissed and be blessed no matter what your circumstances are. And as you go through your day, take care and take it easy. And until I talk to you again, namaste and blessed be.